Hello everybody, this is Alex from Swoosh English. Great to see so many people in the class today. And today we're going to be talking all about OET writing. One second. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be talking about OET writing today. And we always generally do this kind of class just before we have students taking their examinations. So next week, many students are taking their examinations. If you are taking your exam, please let me know in the chat box. So if you've got your exam next week, let me know so I can see which kind of people we're helping, especially because, of course, there'll be some students who are taking their exam next week, and there'll be some students taking their exam next month and the month after that. But we find that students really request, they really need a lot of help with OET writing just prior to their examination. So if we can help you at all today with OET writing, then that would give us a lot of satisfaction here at Swoosh. So very soon we are going to have our UK OET teacher Stephen, and also you'll have myself as well, and we'll both be answering questions. So you'll have access. Oh, one second. That's better. You'll have access to 2 UK native OET teachers today, so we'll be drawing on our experience of helping. We've had hundreds and hundreds of students, even in the last couple of months or so, pass the OET exam. So we're really excited to help a lot of you today who are here. Please let me know who we have in attendance. So we've got people on Zoom. We've got Samira. We've got Rupali's got her exam next week. Joseph in February. Elisa next week. Rupali's stressed about writing. Don't worry, Rupali will help you as best we can today. Shyama is facing her exam next week. Shyla February. Sandeep next week. Jirish next week. Austin next week. Peter next week. Matthew Subi next week. John Jackson in February. Okay, so lots of people who are taking their exam very soon. So in the next 5 minutes or so, I'll introduce you to Stephen, our UK native OET teacher. He's one of the main OET writing experts we have here at Swoosh. He's helped so many students correcting their letters, giving them feedback, telling them what they need to improve to get it from a C, C+ to a B, telling them all about the structure, what kinds of information from the case notes they need to include in their letter, everything you could possibly need with regards to writing. So he will be joining us in the session in the next 5 minutes or so. The other thing I wanted to mention as well, Happy New Year. I should have said that at the beginning. Really excited about this brand new year. Our objectives in helping students is kind of gone from this in 2018 to this in 2019. We want to be helping thousands and thousands of students to pass their OET and their IELTS examinations. So those are the only 2 exams that we work on, because our passion here at Swoosh is to help people live the UK dream. So when you come to the UK, you've got all these amazing opportunities, you know, working in, whether you want to work in a hospital, as a doctor or nurse, as a care home, wherever that might be, you know, NHS, hospitals. We want to help as many people as possible, because we desperately need, here in the UK, I live in London, and we desperately need doctors and nurses to fill the many thousands of vacancies. I think there's about 42,000 vacancies for doctors in the 42,000 vacancies for nurses in the UK, and about 15,000 to 20,000 vacancies for doctors. So we really desperately need you out here in helping all around the country, over the UK, all across the UK. So we want to help many people to achieve their dreams of working here in the UK, where you can get a better salary, better life for your family, better education for your children, opportunities to travel, etc. There could be many reasons as to why you would want to come and work here in the UK. So I'm very excited to help you. Rosa asked a good question about Brexit. Will it have an impact? To be honest, in this profession that you're in, I think you don't have anything to worry about, in my opinion. You know, we're desperate for doctors and nurses. I believe that even if Brexit does happen, I think for doctors and nurses, we desperately need foreign doctors and nurses. There's not a lot of funding programs that we have available for UK nurses, UK doctors. My sister is a nurse and she qualified 2 years ago, but she got one of the last funding programs. A lot of the funding programs have finished now. So we really desperately rely on foreign doctors and nurses to come out here. So I don't think Brexit will be an issue for all of you watching right now, all of you in the class and on Facebook. But anyway, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Thank you for your question, Rose. I think it was a very valid question that some people will always ask. But where there's patients, there's doctors and nurses that are needed. And we have, of course, millions and millions of patients. We have about 65 to 70 million people who live in the UK right now. So if you want to get access to our free OET welcome pack, make sure you share today's Facebook Live video. And in this free OET welcome pack, you've got access to video lessons on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We've got tips, guidance, advice, lots and lots of videos for you to help you prepare for your upcoming OET exam, whether it's next week, next month, or the month after that. These videos and these resources will be really, really helpful to you. So first step, all you need to do is share this Facebook Live video to your Facebook page. That's step one. So you just click the share button underneath this video. And then step two, right underneath this video, I have shared the OET live class video. Okay, so underneath, I have shared the OET live class video. Even if you're in the Zoom session with me right now, you can just get your phone. So if you're on a laptop, you just get your phone and just go on to facebook.com/swoosh English, and you'll see our Facebook Live video on there. And all you do is, like I said, share the video, step one, to your Facebook page. Step two, I've shared the OET live class video, and you'll automatically get access to our free OET welcome pack, which has helped. We've had thousands and thousands of people who've got access to these OET live videos, where helping you, like I said, on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Over the last 6-7 months, we've been giving these OET free welcome packs to people when they come to our Facebook Live classes. So make sure you share that to get access to it. So we're going to get going in a second. I want to have anybody who's asking questions or anything they're not sure about, please let us know before Stephen, our UK native OET teacher, comes into the class. Is there any opportunities to come to the UK without a grade B? Said Shyama. Well, you would, if you're a nurse, Shyama, you would have to work as a HCA, a healthcare assistant. So this is a level down from a nurse. And really, what we want you to be doing here at Swoosh, we want you to become a proper, fully qualified UK nurse. So you're not doing the basic tasks. I remember when my sister Claire, she was a HCA before she became a fully qualified nurse, and she did not like that job. She wanted to be a fully qualified nurse. Of course, you get more responsibility. Of course, your salary is higher. You get respected more, all those kinds of things. So we want to help you pass this exam so that you can become a fully qualified UK nurse. Before I get started, let's see if we've got any questions that I can see on Facebook. If you've got any questions before we begin, please let me know by putting them inside the Facebook Live session or on Zoom as well. Okay. Okay, lots of people have shared the video. Fantastic. Okay, I've shared the video. Hi, Alex, said Christina. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so anyway, I think we're ready to get started. And wow, we've got so many people here on the Zoom session. That's great, and lots of people on the Facebook Live too. Let's see if I can bring Stephen, our UK native OET teacher. If you've been to these classes before, or you're one of our VIP students and you have been taught by Stephen before, please let us know in the chat box if his sessions, and also if you've come to my session, if you've been to my sessions before, if they were helpful to you as well. And let us know so other students who are new students can feel rest assured. They can have more, they can feel a bit more relaxed about the kinds of help that we can provide to people today. So if you have been before, then please let us know. Okay, please, any questions in Zoom, just put them in the chat box, not in the Q&A area, please. Okay, that is very important. Okay, so Stephen, let's see if we can get Stephen in. Stephen, are you there? I'm going to make you co-host. So hopefully now you should be able to turn on your video.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Good. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, good.
Stephen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All the best, everyone.
Yeah.
Good luck for 2019. Lots of B's.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of B's and lots of A's if we can. I mean, Stephen's helped lots of people get A's and B's. We've had people in the Facebook group, in our OET VIP Facebook group, who've had A's for writing. I know that sounds impossible for lots of you watching, but it's definitely achievable if you have a strategy in place and you have a teacher to correct your writing, etc. So all of those things are absolutely possible. So today I want to make sure everyone's got a pen. Okay, everyone's got a pen handy. I was looking for my pen, but I don't have. Oh yeah, we are. Everyone's got their pen ready, okay, and piece of paper. Make sure you take down notes today, because we'll be giving you a lot of good guidance on OET writing. As I mentioned to the students before, Stephen, we always get a lot of requests about OET writing before students take their examination. So that's why we've decided to do this question and answer session today. Any burning questions that you have about your writing exam, because next week, if you've got your exam next week, this is a good opportunity for you to ask a UK OET teacher like Stephen, as well as myself, in order to get that grade B or the grade A that you're looking for in writing. So we're only going to be answering questions about OET writing today. So questions about reading, listening, speaking, you can send us an email. Send me an email, alex@swooshenglish.com, and we can help you with that. But today is all about the writing. Shima says, I've got my exam next week. Lots of questions coming through. What I thought might be great to start with, Stephen, is if we can tell students what examiners are looking for. So when they're writing, when their letters get sent to Melbourne, Australia, and the examiners are marking them, what is it they're looking for to get a grade B and A? So we've got the grade descriptions for each of the classifications for the OET writing. So Stephen is going to share that. Actually, Stephen, starting off with, can you, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you just give a 1-minute introduction about who you are, how many years experience you've got, how many students you think you've helped to pass the OET exam right now? Considering we used to do the challenges, we had about 30, 40 students a month, and I'd say about 65% plus of those were passing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you multiply that by, 5 or 6 months, it's quite a lot.
Longer, 8 months. 8 months, I think.
8 months, yeah. So you're looking at over a couple of hundred anyhow. So hopefully we can get a couple of hundred more. So
absolutely.
Brief intro about myself. Yeah, I've been teaching for about 18 years, maybe a little bit longer. I lived in China for 15 years. I was an IELTS examiner and academic director of a large education institution. So I had about 50 teachers or so working for me. So I've got quite a bit of experience, but you're always learning, even as a teacher. So yeah, I've been teaching OET for quite a while also, and helping out. So I mix it up with IELTS and OET. Obviously, doctors or nurses will take either the IELTS test or the OET test. And recently, as most of you know, the British Council, or they've reduced the score anyhow, not the British Council, but the Organisation for Nurses. I can't remember the exact abbreviation for that, but they've reduced the band score. Alex will be able to tell me that.
Yeah,
what is it?
NMC.
NMC, yeah. So they've reduced the IELTS band score for that to 6.5. So we'll have a look at these descriptors, and I would advise you, you can get these freely off the OET website. So go on there and have a look. I'll put it on full screen, and then it's clearer for us. And I'll just minimize this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a look. So really, we won't spend a lot of time on 1, 2, and 3, because you certainly do not want to be down there. Obviously 0, there's no response from the candidate. So 2, you've got an extremely limited communication due to constant errors and or severely restricted linguistic resources, very brief, significantly unfinished. So that's going to be far too short. So it's not going to give the assessor a good sample of your writing. And then we've got appropriateness of language there. So often unintelligible, no evidence of organization. So that's going to cause some strain for the reader. Comprehension of stimulus. So misunderstood the task. So remember, when you're doing these letters, you should be looking at the task first, so you understand exactly what you have to do. So, you know, once you read through the case notes, that should be clear. So we've got linguistic features, very limited grammatical resource, even in simple sentences, no attempt of cohesive devices, and then presentation features, limited control of spelling and punctuation, layout of letters inappropriate. Now, you will know that the body of the essay is what is really assessed, but you still have to show that you can write a letter. So you must have an appropriate layout. If we look at 3, we've got overall task fulfillment again. So this time is better. So is able to partly fulfill some of the task requirements, however significantly limited, frequent lapses, errors, and restricted linguistic resources. You'll note the answer may be far too long or far too short. Now, if you go a little over length or a little under length, it doesn't really matter, but you don't want to be writing 350 words, or if you write 120 words, obviously that's going to be too short as well. We've got appropriateness of language. So for 3, frequently inappropriate register, tone, and lexis for context. So you must remember, when you're writing these letters, you need to be using impersonal tone. So you don't want to personalize the letter at all. So what concerns me most about her condition, or I am very concerned about her condition. So don't personalize your letters. Poor organization of material, and this would cause serious strain for the reader. Comprehension of stimulus here, basic errors, comprehension of stimulus material and task instructions. But again, frequent inaccuracies or inappropriate selection of material. And then for linguistic features, limited range of grammatical structures, errors are frequent, intrusive, reflecting inadequate resources of grammar, minimal or inappropriate use of cohesive devices, and then limited control of spelling and punctuation, frequent inaccuracies are intrusive. And again, you'll see layout of letter may be inappropriate. So now we want to be looking at a good foundation to move up to getting a B or A. So where you've got to, you can understand things, but you need to improve a little. So if we look at 4, for task fulfillment, can manage the task. However, there's still restricted range and flexibility or lapses or errors. And there again, maybe too long or too short. Appropriateness of language, generally appropriate lexis, tone, and lexis for the context. However, errors are noticeable. Inappropriate organization of information sometimes causes strain. So you have to put yourself in a real life situation. So imagine when you're doing these letters, what information does the reader actually need to continue treatment of the patient? So that's really important. So for comprehension of stimulus, so it's generally accurate, understanding of stimulus, material and instructions. There are some omissions or irrelevancies, and they are noticeable. So maybe too much or too little information. And then linguistic, fair range of grammatical structures, errors are noticeable and times reflect limited grammatical resources. So you basically want to be using a mixture of complex and simple sentences. Inappropriate or insufficient cohesive devices sometimes causes strain. So you don't want to be overusing cohesive devices either, because I know maybe many people have actually taken the IELTS test before coming over to do the OET test. And then I see a lot of people overusing cohesive devices. In addition, furthermore, moreover, So, you know, you want to be using enough, but you don't want to be overusing those, because it makes the letter look unnatural. And then presentation features, layout of letters, mostly appropriate, and there are some inaccuracies in spelling and punctuation. So here's the golden 5. So generally fulfills the task, though occasional minor lapses, errors may indicate some limitations. Answer may be slightly too short or too long, so slightly. Appropriateness of language, mostly appropriate register and tone, lexis for the context. A few inaccuracies do not impede communication. So again, if the reader's reading it, there won't be any misunderstanding. So we have to put ourselves again in a real life situation. We don't want the reader to misunderstand some of that information. Organization is mostly clear, minor lapses in sequencing. Comprehension of stimulus, almost complete understanding of stimulus, material, and task instructions. There are occasional omissions or irrelevancies, do not impede communication. So they're allowing a few errors there. And then linguistic, mostly accurate use of range of grammatical structures, generally appropriate use of cohesive devices. And again, occasional errors are not intrusive. So you have to remember the difference between a pass or a fail here could actually be the number of errors you make. That could be the difference between a B and a C. So when you finish your letters, make sure you always go through and edit to check for mistakes. And then 5 for presentation features, mostly accurate spelling, punctuation. Again, occasional errors are not intrusive, layout of letter is appropriate. And then we've got the big 6. So basically, as you would expect, all aspects of the task effectively fulfilled. Appropriateness of language, entirely appropriate register, tone and lexis for the content. Material is clearly and logically organized. Comprehension of stimulus, complete understanding of stimulus material and task instructions. Selects all relevant material from stimulus notes. And then we've got lexis, linguistic features, wide range of grammatical structures, accurately and flexibly used. Fluent linking of ideas, appropriate cohesive devices. And then the last but not least, presentation features, high level of accuracy, spelling and punctuation, layout of letter is appropriate. So those are useful for you. So I would advise you to download that off the OET website, and that's going to help you once you're going through your letter and editing your letter and checking. You can check against the banned descriptors. So it's a useful tool for you to have in your writing preparation material.
Great
Okay.
stuff, Stephen. Thank you very much for the overview of all the different categories. Remember, a 6 would be equivalent to an A, 5 would be a B, 4 would be a C+, 3 would be a C, and so on. Okay, we won't talk about the other ones because I'm sure you're all way above that. So I think we've got lots of questions coming through about writing. So Stephen, if you can just look through the Zoom questions, and I will handle the Facebook Live questions that are coming through. And before we move on, so while Stephen's looking at different questions, which ones, and he'll choose some to answer. Of course, we've got so many people asking questions. We'll try to answer as many as we can. But please forgive us if we don't get to every single question. If people are sharing, lots of people on Facebook are sharing the OET Live Class video, which is fantastic. So all you need to do, first step, is share the OET Live Class video to your Facebook page, step 1. So just click the button share underneath, because we really want as many people to benefit from this free class as possible, so that we can, get the message out there about what students need to do for writing before they take their examination, either next week or next month or even the month after that. So that's step 1, share the video. Step 2 is right underneath this video, I have shared the OET Live Class video. So once more, I have shared the OET Live Class video, and you'll get access to our free OET welcome pack with lots of video resources about reading, writing, listening, speaking, tips, tools, and strategies that you need to pass your examination. So go ahead and do that to get your free OET welcome pack. Okay, Stephen, any questions you can see?
Yeah, the big one that sticks out is from Ala Alwan. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but there's a lot of...
She's one of our VIP students.
Okay, so there's a lot in here, and they're all relevant. So one is regarding the verb tenses, for example, about presentation, presented, complained, or suffered. So again, it's going to depend on the case notes, but for example, suffer, has been, suffering from. So if someone has had the complaint from the past to the present, then you're going to use the present perfect. If they were cured or they had a successful resolution to the health problem, then obviously you're going to use the past tense for that. So most of the tenses you're going to use are going to be present simple, present perfect, and past simple. And for the test requested, showed, well, okay, so blood tests were requested, blood tests were ordered, the blood tests showed, and the blood tests revealed, so that would be okay. And then we've got other verbs here, deteriorate, worsen, improve, all those are fine. Yeah, they'd be perfectly okay. The patient's condition deteriorated or has deteriorated, worsened or improved. And then in today's visit, present simple, simple past, present perfect. Okay, well, it could be a mixture of those. So remember what you're writing, the actual visit is finished. So you could use simple past, okay? But if it's only a matter of minutes, if it's still on that day, for example, then you could use present perfect. But a great deal depends on the case notes. There's one there where the woman actually goes into respiratory distress and they report 15 minutes later. So by the time the person is writing that, that has finished, but she still may be in respiratory distress. So there'll be could be a mixture. So again, it comes down to how you look at the case notes. I hope that's answered that one. So let me have a look. Just scroll down here. Bui Van Tung, I had a 3.5 band score last year. This is bad. Okay. And then taking the UK VI. Okay. How to write an introduction. We don't have a definite diagnosis, like whose features are suggestive of carcinoma or irritable bowel disease. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so you could say my preliminary diagnosis. So that would be perfectly okay. My preliminary diagnosis is a carcinoma or irritable bowel disease. And then again, that's why further management is going to be required or further assessment. So again, this boils down to the task requirements. So if there's no definitive diagnosis, obviously the doctor is going to make a preliminary diagnosis. So you could say my preliminary, the preliminary diagnosis is carcinoma or irritable bowel disease in these examples. Okay. Next, if the case notes provide name and address of the doctor who is referring, discharging the patient to a hospital specialist, in the case, should we use provided doctor's name and address? Yes. So remember, it's not a distractor, so there's no distractors in writing. Yeah, distractors will be in reading and listening, mostly reading, but not in writing. So even if you've got that information, you should address that to the person that you're writing to. So you would always do that. So make sure you have the address on. So remember that I just went through the descriptors there. So formatting. So formatting of a letter means that you must have the address on. So now also make sure that if you've got, you're going to have most of that information there, or all of that information. You might not have a name, so it would be dear sir, madam. If you've got names, you've got the name of the patient, obviously, name of the doctor. It could be someone, in charge of admittance or the register, so it would be dear sir or madam. But if you've got the names, you don't want to be making spelling mistakes with names. That information's given, so those are simple errors. So always double check. It's very important. Okay. Let me have a look.
Hi, Stephen. So I think we've still got lots of people posting questions, etc. I just want to mention that we do these sessions in conjunction with OET World, which is, in my view, the best Facebook group out there for OET. So if you're not part of their group, please definitely join, because you've got students helping each other. You know, students asking for advice, you know, about remarking, whether they should get remarking, or how long the process takes, or exam results delays, or, you know, even tips on different aspects of the OET exam. Lots of students helping each other, motivating, inspiring each other. I would highly recommend that Facebook group. We've been working with Kumar and Anupama and the OET World team for a long time now, in helping students to pass. So if you're not part of that group, I'm going to put the link to OET World in the Zoom session. And and Kumar, I believe, is watching right now. So Kumar, if you can put your link on the Facebook Live, so anyone who wants to join, it's completely free. The other great thing about OET World is they've got a Telegram group as well, which is kind of like WhatsApp. Okay, so they've got a WhatsApp group, they've got a Telegram group. They can allow you to join that. Again, it's completely free. So the good work that they do in helping students to pass is really valued by students. So definitely join their group. And what I also want to do as well, Stephen, whilst students are giving lots of questions, etc., I'm just going to bring Dr. Anupama, who is part of OET World. I'm going to bring her into the session and just going to ask her a question on her thoughts on OET writing, because they've got so many students in OET World Facebook group that they're helping, and we wanted to allow some students to benefit from what her perspective is on OET writing. So Anupama, I'm just going to bring you in. Let's see if I can bring you in. 1 second. Maybe if you can answer one more question, Stephen, while I'm bringing her in, if you can.
Yeah, there's one good one there. Do we really need to use Aussie UK format in writing, example, date and all? I'm assuming that person is probably from maybe the USA. Well, the format is pretty standard in most English-speaking countries. Now, when I was a kid and learned English at school, you could either put the address, you would usually put your address on the right and the addressee on the left, similar format. So I think really, if you look around, it's probably the standard format everywhere now. So, I mean, you probably wouldn't get penalized for that, but I mean, you know, there's no big difference between the left and the right, but why not just use the left? So, you know, it's only, well, it's important information, obviously, to include the addressee, the name, the patient. So I don't think it's any great deal to put that on the left. So to answer the question, yeah, just do it.
Fantastic, Stephen. So is Anupama, are you there?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Hi, Anupama. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Good. So so everybody watching on Zoom and Facebook Live, Anupama's from the OET World Facebook group. They've got about 45,000 or coming up to 50,000 members, Anupama?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So they are giving a lot of help and support to students inside that Facebook group, and also on Telegram and WhatsApp as well. So to get a different perspective for students as well, and OET World, they run courses, face-to-face classes in Calicut in Kerala. So if you're an Indian nurse or an Indian doctor and you need support with OET World, then definitely join the OET World group and then ask Anupama or Kumar, and they can tell you more about their face-to-face classes. But Anupama, I wanted to ask you, from all of the experience that you've got in helping students to pass the OET exam, the OET writing exam in particular, what mistakes are you seeing from students that are stopping them from going from a C plus to a B, and even an A as well? Because I know you've had some students you've helped to get an A as well.
Yes, basically, the first thing would be understanding the task correctly. Many people just summarize the whole case notes. They don't look at the task specifically. And second thing, among Indian students, especially, is the grammar. And third one would be they fail to transform the case notes, which is very, very important. These three are the most important according to me.
And can you give any examples in particular of where students are making mistakes in those three areas? Any kind of huge mistakes that it seems like a lot of students are making the same ones and it's becoming a bit repetitive? Because I know, Stephen, you see the same mistakes again and again and again, and we're telling our students to not just when they get the corrections and the grades, grade estimations from Stephen, that they're not just moving on to their next letter, but they're actually reviewing those. Reviewing the corrections before they move on to the next one.
Coming to the task achievement, there'll be a lot of things in the discharge plan, but they don't know specifically which one to select for the specific recipient. That is one thing many people fail at. And coming to the grammar part, tense forms is one big thing. And second thing is the reported speech. They use the was or is incorrectly most of the time. Like, for example, they don't know the difference between she killed and she was killed. The total meaning changes. So that is one sentence that I give them for an example, that she killed and she was killed is different.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Stephen, or any kind of big mistakes that you see students making? It's a repetitive thing where you hear, they're hearing the same things again and again.
Yeah, I think the most common ones are with the past simple and the present perfect. So they're the most common errors, or sometimes present simple, but usually it's the past simple and present perfect, because obviously someone's still suffering from a condition. So that's the whole point of the letter. So, or there might be a lot of case notes, like you just mentioned there. So they might have an accompanying condition as well as the main condition that they're getting treated for. So the common one is she was diagnosed with asthma since 2010. Yeah, something like that. So, she's been suffering from asthma since 2010, or she was diagnosed with asthma in 2010 because the diagnosis was actually made in the past. But if you use the present perfect, she's still suffering from asthma. So those are the real common ones I see all the time.
Another one would think was she had a family history of cancer. She still has the family history. The history is not gone.
Yeah, and these are really subtle differences, but they make a huge difference in terms of the meaning of what the person is trying to say in the letter. Anupama, I want to address something that I see, for example, say for those students who are taking the exam many times, okay, and particularly they're failing the OET writing, they keep getting, BBB C plus or BBB C, and they just keep taking it 3 or 4 or 5 times. Why is it, do you think, that they keep getting a C plus, and just repetitively they just keep getting that C and they just can't go up to a B?
Actually, I think they don't have a good OET mentor, and they just hurry to the next exam. They don't prepare themselves. They should be prepared to get a B. OET won't award a B without a reason.
Exactly, and I think that's something that Stephen and I are always discussing previously, is that students, they need, if whether you get some corrections from Anupama or from OET World or from Swoosh or any of the other good quality teachers or providers out there, is if you're repeatedly taking the OET exam and not getting the Bs that you need, especially in the writing, then I would highly recommend you to find someone who has got who's got qualifications, they've got experience in helping students to get those A's and B's, someone who can look at your writing, and as Anupama talked about, those 3 big mistakes that she talked about, they can really look at those and tell you what you need to do to take it to that next level. Anupama, thank you so much for coming into our session today. Like I said, please come in to the OET World Facebook group if you're not already part of the group. I think Kumar's posted in the Facebook on the Facebook page under the video, and then on Zoom I put the link in there. Thank you very much, Annie Palmer.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for this
All the best.
opportunity. Yeah,
you're very
thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Stephen, what other questions have we got coming through? Remember, everybody, if you've got your exam next week, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to have your questions answered by a UK native OET teacher. So well, I should say 2 UK native OET teachers. So if you've got questions, please put them in the chat box. Is there any in particular you want to address, Stephen?
Yeah, here's a basic one about RE, so with reference to, so no, you should always write the addressee first. So dear Dr. Smith, RE, then the patient's name. Okay, so that's the way that should be. So there's no need to write dear sir or madam unless you don't have a name. Yeah, so if it's the admission officer or the registrar or something like this, then, you know, dear sir or madam. Right, let me have a look through. So basically, yeah, I've just given that information to the next one. So if you don't have a name, it would be dear sir or madam. Okay, Joseph Nakalamba, Ni Hao, yeah, also living in China. Initially on or initially on, yeah, well, yeah, you can put a comma there and then you're going to actually give the information. Yeah, so that's fine. Let's have a look. Using of impression words like luckily, fortunately. Now this is a good question from Islam Mahmood. No, you don't want to be using those words because then you're personalizing your letter. If you're using words like luckily, fortunately, unfortunately, what concerns me the most, I'm very worried. You don't want to be using these kind of words. You're personalizing your letter. So again, also, you don't want to be using I all the time. I prescribed. You could say she was prescribed. So you're taking yourself out of that. It's an impersonal letter, so it must be written in a formal tone. So avoid using vocab like that. Relevant case notes. Olale. Now, this is going to vary, obviously, depending on what the case notes are. So there's no one size fits all when it comes to case notes. So basically you have to pick out the most important case notes. What is relevant for further treatment and management of that patient? That's what you want to be looking at. Put yourself in the reader's position. What information do you need to treat that person further? So for example, there's a couple of case notes I can think of that come to hand. So one is a referral to a psychologist, but there's lots of other case notes along with the last 2 important parts. There's no need to go back 1 year and write about a woman that had too much to drink and passed out one night, when actually that's got nothing to do with the present situation. So you've got 5 minutes to look at the task. Look at the task. You want to be going through the case notes. You've got 5 minutes to go through. You want to be looking through. Once the 5 minutes is up, you want to be circling the information you're going to include in your letter for relevance. So that's what you really want to be doing. Look at the date on the case notes. How far is it going back? Now, it may be relevant. It may not be relevant. So a great deal depends on the case notes, but the best advice there I would say is put yourself in the position of the reader. Okay, that's not really related. For plurals, well, I mean, if you miss a few plurals, they're not major errors. It depends on what you're missing them off, but a few errors, as long as it doesn't affect communication. So you must be aware of the errors and the number of errors. So they might be small errors that are not actually going to affect any communication. the reader's actually going to be able to understand it. Remember, native speakers still make mistakes when they're writing. You know, we're not all perfect. If we're writing something quickly, or if we're writing on a computer, so lots of you are getting practice of typing up these case notes and doing the letters on a computer, which you in the real world you're going to have to do. If we're writing a letter by hand, then we might actually make some mistakes, and similarly we may also make some mistakes. It's how it affects communication. So that's where your editing comes in. Make sure, if a teacher has marked your letter, you know, print it out and then do your next letter, compare them across. What errors have you made that are the same? So it's all about, you know, Alex talked about someone that's stuck at a C and they can't get past that. Well, a lot is to do with editing and not correcting those mistakes and just continuing to make exactly the same mistakes. So you must edit and go through and then compare each letter. You know, if you've done 5 letters over the course of a couple of weeks, go back to the first letter that you did and the last letter you did. Have you still got any of those same mistakes? So it's about constant reviewing of your work and correcting the errors you're making. If you've got you're often making article errors, then go and review articles. If it's the tenses, review past perfect, past simple, present perfect. So it's all about constant reviewing so that you can move forward. If it's vocabulary, then read more medical articles in English so you can improve your vocabulary. Which notes used to develop the letter? Well, I've kind of answered that, Rosa, but it's really, you want to be putting the most significant first, then secondary notes, and then medication or discharge, what's happening on discharge. For example, joint, let me have a look. Let me scroll up there. I lost that there, something about joints. Example, joint instead of joints. Well, it could be, you know, both knee joints. It could be left knee joint, so it could be either. And well, the penalties, well, this is the $64,000 question. So with regards to how, those are the descriptors for the writing, how the number of errors is going to affect that between a B and an A, you have to work that out. And again, basically, it's about the understanding. Is the reader going to understand? If there's too many errors or simple errors, then obviously it's going to affect your score. The patient social medical history, straight after the introduction or at the end, before the conclusion paragraph. Well, again, this depends on the case notes. Like I said, there's no one size fits all when it comes to the case notes. So the medical history may be very relevant to what's happening now. So it could go after what the present situation is. It could go at the end, but a great deal depends on the notes, really. Let me have a look. What about history when reader is knowing the patient for 6 months old patient? I'm not quite sure, Dempsey, I get that. Should we include, okay, I understand. Now, you might be referring a patient back to their GP. Now, if the person already knows the patient, then you don't want to be including lots of the past history. They're only asking for an update on the condition or what has happened. Was the operation successful, or how they've actually improved? So you don't have to write a significant past history because their GP is already going to know that history. So it's irrelevant information. So remember that when you're looking at the case notes. Let's have a look. Can I use 2 tense in a single sentence? Miss Jones' examination revealed increased tenderness on her pregnancy, and her pregnancy test is positive. Now, you have to remember the examination's over, so you would use the past simple. Yeah. So yes, she is pregnant, but the test actually was positive. So the test is already finished. Mrs. Fletcher stay in hospital was unavailable range. If I use them as two separate sentences, can I use two different tenses? Not really. If I'm looking at that example, Sanbatia, within normal range. So it's better if you call it, basically you should be using a mixture of simple and complex sentences, really. So you don't just want to be copying the notes, case notes straight across into your letter. It doesn't read very natural. So you want to expand those notes and fill them out a bit and, you know, use a mixture of complex and simple sentences. Many dates or mentions, how can we write? Samaria. Now, again, Samaria, that's going to depend on the case notes and what is relevant to the present situation. So maybe something in the past is relevant now. So it's a matter of you looking through the case notes and deciding what is important for the target reader again. Again, I can't really go into specifics because there is no set standard format because, you know, many of the case notes are very different. So it would be for you to look at the case notes and the dates and to see if that's going to be relevant to the present situation. If it's not relevant to the present situation, then forget it. If someone went for treatment for some moles or a fungal infection, but the main presentation here is a referral to a psychologist, well, that information's irrelevant. Oops, I missed that. Let's have a look. Just scrolling down. Provisional diagnosis, Joseph, yeah, that's okay. Just going to scroll down. Should we put a dot after doctor? You can or you can't, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect your score. Yeah. What happens if I miss some relevant data? Well, Elisa, just like if you go through the descriptors there that I showed you earlier, you'll see on there may be some missed data. So you could still get a B. It depends how relevant it is. A lower back pain or lower back pain. So lower back pain, no article. I mean, our name after sincerely should be as doctor or the provided name and the address. Well, sometimes they'll tell you who you are. You are blah, 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 the nurse in charge. So you would use that information. If it's a doctor, then you would just put doctor followed by your own name if it's not given. Knee replacement surgery, no article. What case notes should be put in each paragraph? Well, I guess I've answered that again. There's no one size fits all with that. So you would have to decide based on the case notes. Exactly the grammar notes, incorrect sentences. As I said before, not all notes we have referred to. Depends on is the letter directed. We need to read our letter, hospital, nursing home, or community. Okay. I'm not quite sure if that's a question or not. I'll move on. If I actually answered the task requirements, however, I failed to include some of the tasks. Example, I failed to include all of the discharge plans in the discharge letter. Will I be penalized? Well, you know, it's in there that you should have a complete understanding of the task. So it's better to have those included. Okay. Where the data should be written at the top of a letter or after address or the referred person. Oh, the date. Yeah, the date will be written after the address. So you would write the address, then the date, then the doctor, then the RE, the patient. Can we start the first paragraph? I write this letter regarding the above mentioned patient. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways you're going to begin this. I'm writing this letter to refer. There's another one. I wouldn't use this myself, but thank you for seeing. But the common ones, I'm writing to refer. Now, either the name of the patient or the above patient. Yeah. So the opening and closings are basically, they're going to be very, very standard. So you shouldn't really have a problem with opening or closing. So you're going to open with the purpose of the letter. So you're referring, or the person's being discharged. You know, they should be fairly standard. Let's have a look. Should we use complex sentences in our letter? Yes, you should, Shima. What to do if you're under words? Well, it depends how much under length it is. If it's significantly under length, then that's a problem. If it's, you know, a little under length, it's not going to be a major problem if you've reported the relevant information. So I think here I would say don't get too hung up on being over length and under length. You're not going to be penalized if the relevant information has been reported. But obviously, if you're writing something like 350 words or something, then obviously that's far too long. And if you're writing 120 words, then obviously that's far too short. But, you know, don't get too hung up. The 180 to 200 is a guideline, really. Is it better to repeat the official materials many times or do some non-official materials? I didn't reach the score B yet and I'm really confused. Randa, I would try and get your hands on the best materials possible. So official materials if you can, as many as possible. I know everyone struggles with finding case notes, but, you know, I see case notes on a daily basis and some of them are really bad. So, you know, it's probably better to stick with the official ones, or we have our materials also. So just be careful with the materials.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. There is one company in particular which I won't mention the name of, but we all know the name of the company. There's one company, like I said, there's one company in particular, but there's also other teachers out there who are putting case notes and tasks out there that are not good quality. So you really do need to be careful with what you are using. We've had lots and lots of students sign up for our OET mock exam packages, and those include writing case notes and tasks. So if you've got access to them, then fantastic. If you've not seen them before, I'll put a link into the description box. You can get a free mini mock exam for reading and listening with this package. So if you just click on that link, you can see the free mini mock exam. But if you want to get access to 6 mock exams for reading, writing, listening, speaking, then you can see there's a package on there, and you'll be able to get, like Stephen said, good quality case notes and tasks that will give you the practice that you need. I'll put this link on Facebook Live as well. Keep your questions coming, everyone. We've got about 5 or 10 minutes remaining, and I think we've still got questions coming through. If you've not shared today's Facebook Live video and you want to get access to our free OET Welcome Pack with lots of video resources and materials, first step is to share the Facebook Live video to your Facebook page, and then step 2, right underneath, I have shared the OET Live class video. So I have shared the OET Live class video, and you'll get access to that welcome pack. So I think we've got some more questions coming through.
Yeah, we've got a couple here. So can we omit the previous visits if it's not relevant to the current condition? Yeah, that's fine. Like I discussed earlier, if it's not relevant, then there's no need to mention it. Islam Mahmood, how many cohesive devices can I use? Well, there's no set number of cohesive devices you should use. But I would say it has to read natural. If you're overusing them all the time, moreover, in addition, you don't want to overuse them because the letter should read natural. Remember, it's not an academic essay. So, you know, you can put a few in there, and as long as it's natural, that's perfectly okay. Good question here from Gita. Is it important to mention that the patient is currently living with someone plus he was brought in by someone? It's not necessary.